Hello and welcome to Talkin Hearthstone, the podcast where, we talk about Hearthstone. I'm Tito Santana. This is episode 13. Hello to all our favorite New Zealanders who live in Sydney. So this week, I've been talking about how I've been doing this month I've been talking about how well I've been doing in the ladder grind, and I was top 1,000 up until about a few days ago. Now I'm still around 1,500. If you would ask me a month ago, would I have been thrilled to be in the top 2,000? I would have said absolutely. For the entire month, we still have uh, 10 days left. 30 days has, yep, something like that. So, but the position changes when I've been in the top 1,000 all month. So I'm a little disappointed with myself, and only a little. Like, I'm really not disappointed with myself, but like, having stayed there for so long, it's kind of a bit of a letdown, but we're still playing better. We made it all the way down to 2,000. Now we're getting close up, but I don't want to sit here just talking about the my ladder experience there. But I do want to talk a little bit about the concept of ladder anxiety. Now, this is something I'm planning on having a couple good folks on bread and butter to talk about in the next few weeks. So you'll hear me revisit this again without just me talking if you listen to both shows. But I figured now it's a good time to talk about it because I know I'm feeling it right now and I'm trying to process through it, and I'm trying to figure out once again, because I've had anxiety before on the ladder and I feel like I'm conquering it pretty well, but there's a process to it. So I know it's common for a lot of people to have ladder anxiety. So I figured it'd be a good topic for today to just talk about it, and just maybe give some ideas on ways you can kind of handle it and approach ladder in a way that can help you fight that ladder anxiety. First off, if you don't have ladder anxiety, you log into Hearthstone, you play what you want, you play a couple games. Doesn't matter if you win or lose, don't change a thing. You're happy. Hearthstone's a game. Games are fun. You're having fun. No need to add anxiety to that. If you want to setting goals for yourself, then you want to think about these things. But if your goal is to just jam whatever deck you're having fun with, that is wonderful. Don't change. I wish I could be like that. Sometimes I can. Maybe I do that on Wild or something, but overall, I get too competitive for that. So I it's just not a mode or play style that I could really deal with. Um, it doesn't matter what your goal is as far as what rank you're feeling anxiety about. Now, if you're trying to push for a Master's Tourist finish, you're probably not listening to this podcast, and whatever I have to say is probably not that important to you. But I get where that anxiety can be something you really have to push through because you're trying to qualify, you're trying to get to a place where you can win money, clout, whatever it might be. That's a different thing. So let's factor out high level competition out of the equation. Outside of that, it doesn't matter if you are trying to get to gold 10 for the first time, or diamond 10, or diamond 5, or legend, or mid legend, or high legend. None of that matters. If it's something that is new to you, and it's something that either new to you or recent to you, it's hard to always just be comfortable once you get to that level, because the game's the same. The game doesn't change, right? It's Hearthstone. It's not like they start adding more rules. It's not like a WoW raid where they start adding more mechanics and you have to deal with more things. It's just Hearthstone. But the higher you go up, the better people play, and the more refined and specific a meta can become, right? So it's easy to finally get to a place where, oh, I've never gotten here before. And or I'm getting close to that goal. I'm getting close to hitting legend for the first time. And then that anxiety ramps up because the last two times you tried it, you didn't get there. Or maybe you've never gotten here. Maybe all of a sudden you have gone on a wild streak and you're at legend, or you're almost at legend. You're like diamond 1, 2 stars. That anxiety is natural, and that anxiety just creeps up. So, how do you deal with that? How do you kind of turn that into something that you can use versus making it cripple your game? Because when you start worrying about where you are, then that creeps into your game. So you can be playing the game and you could be very comfortable with the deck you're playing. And then you realize, oh, I'm so close to finally hitting legend. And then you're thinking about it as you're making your decisions. You're like, okay, well, I can play this card, I can play this card. Oh, but it feels like I'm going to lose this game, and then now I'm going to have to win 3 games, and that's in your head already, and that's not good. I mean, it's like I said, natural, but you want to try to work with that. So the biggest thing, and the first thing I would say is you have to change your mindset. If you are looking to succeed at whatever level you're playing at, you have to play games at that level. I used to hit legend, and then I would just kind of like take my foot off the gas and say, all right, fine. Now I can just, I would remove the anxiety because I wouldn't worry about the rank. And I would just say, all right, now we're going to play silly decks. Now I'm going to play fun decks. Absolutely nothing wrong with that. But I would try really hard to get to legend when it was new to me. And then I would say, all right, we're done. Let's just play these random things. And it worked out okay, you know. But then after a few months, I decided, you know what, let's try to get better. Like, how do we become a legend player? And the advice we always got is you have to play. You can't just give up once you get to legend. You now have to try to win at that level. And for me, that was just game volume. And the same thing with what's been going on with me lately. It's just game volume. I played, I think, close to 400 games this month. And that's really been what has helped a lot. So the more you play where you're at, and the more, even if you like you're struggling from that Diamond 5 to Legend climb, which is one of the worst things, one of the it can get in your head when you get like Diamond 1 and you fall back to Diamond 5. It's just Hearthstone. The game hasn't changed. Maybe the meta shifted a little bit. Maybe you're overthinking some plays. Maybe you're underthinking some plays, but it's the game hasn't changed. So the more games you get in, the more comfortable you'll be. And it can get frustrating when you struggle to get to that goal and you kind of inch up to it and then you fall back down, you inch up to it, you fall back down. But the more you do that, the more you're used to, oh, hey, wait, I lost a couple games, whatever. And the real thing is to not think about hitting your goal. And I know that sounds counterintuitive to what I'm saying. But don't think of a win and a loss. Like, don't think of a win as like a victory and a loss as a defeat or whatnot. Each game is a learning experience. You can make mistakes when you lose, and you can make mistakes when you win. And you can make some really educated. You can really learn about your deck as you're just getting volume in. So you can be like, oh, I didn't realize that if I did X, Y, and Z, then that really kind of puts pressure on my opponent. Like, I've been playing a lot of Handbuff Paladin over the last couple months, and like the tendency is to think I need to save my deckhand and my outfit tailor, get him big, and then hit him in the face in one turn, kind of like, oh, let's hit him for 13 damage because of how they were buffed. But as I played more and more, it's a lot better to just play that outfit tailor. Not every time. Whenever we make these comments, I'm speaking in generalities. There are specific situations that make things different. Sometimes you need to hold on to that because of what the opponent's deck is. But in general, stats on board. If you're not playing a deck that's just going to clear, 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 why hold that outfit tailor? Why not play it and then give, like, say you have a 7/7 outfit tailor, you're now putting an additional 14 stats on board in addition to whatever you're doing. You're now pressuring. So rather than try to wait for that perfect moment where you can play the deckhand or the Leroy and the outfit tailor, just get stats on board. So the more you like sit there and work with it and try to get comfortable at whatever level you're at, and people play decks better the higher you get. And people just play better because that's what people do at the levels you're getting to. So you need to be able to handle that if you're going to continue. And we've talked about it before, but then again, we are a podcast that's going to talk. Um, my goal used to be to get to 11 stars. I've done it twice now. I'm hoping this month will be the third month, but I'm no longer trying to get 11 stars. I'm trying to be an 11-star player, which means I have to be comfortable where I'm at. And I don't want it to be this, aberration or this big deal when I get there. I want to be kind of make it so it's expected or almost expected where I'm playing well. I'm just playing my game. I'm a better player because I've put the time in, the work in, I'm learning. And my mindset is in a place where I lost. Okay, why'd I lose? Sometimes I had a game last night. I played my was it THL? It was my THL Pro League match. And I played game one really well and what game one really well and won. Game two, I played okay and I lost. There was some questionable. I think I lost it in the mulligan. Really, game three, I made some big mistakes and I paid for them. And I tried to learn from that. And then game four, didn't matter what I did because they wish upon to start into two rot faces. And rot faces is every time this minion takes damage, summon a random legendary minion. It was sometimes it doesn't matter how well you play. It doesn't matter where you are on and that's the worst part, right? It's like I get right before my goal, or I'm doing really well. I'm almost my goal, and then something like that happens. It's gonna happen. So you just gotta stick with it and set. That being said, I know I'm saying, and I know I say that being said a lot too. I'll work on that. Um, Play a lot of games, but also don't play in a way that's going to be counterproductive. And what I mean by that is don't lose 10 games and just keep grinding games. Set yourself breakpoints, is how I like to think of it. So, say I lose three in a row, I got to take a break. Or if I lose three out of five, I got to take a break. If you lose three in a row with this breakpoint in mind and you queue into a game, you're probably tilted. And you may recognize it, you may not recognize it, but you're not in a place to be executing upon your. And it doesn't mean you can't play on tilt and win, but it's a lot harder. You're adding an extra level of difficulty to the game. So just set some limits, especially if you're feeling that anxiety, because when you start losing, it really kind of adds to that anxiety. So, and you don't have to take a long break. Like what I like to do, especially if I'm streaming, because when you're streaming, you can't really take long breaks, right? Like, I mean, I could go play a different game, but that's not going to be helpful. I could go, sometimes I'll go make myself a snack. But if I lose like three games in a row and I am anxious about it, because sometimes I'm just playing, right? And it doesn't matter. Sometimes I've had a lot of times, and I am aware now that I have nights where I've started 3-10 and I have finished 15-15 or 15-10 or 15-11. I am comfortable with the fact that depending on what I'm playing, I know that I can lose a bunch of games and I can win a bunch of games, especially if it's a deck I'm comfortable with. So I try to let that variance go over. But if I start feeling myself like, oh, of course they had this. Oh, of course they had that. Then I know, even if it's just I go get myself a drink, I stand up, I stretch, think about it for a second. I sit down, I talk for a little bit. I think about the last game. I try to think about the last game saying, did I just get rolled? Did I make mistakes? Am I making bad decisions because I am already kind of on tilt? And there's a lot of different concepts here, tilt and all that, but everything always seems to play together, right? So they're all a piece of the same puzzle. So make yourself breakpoints and adhere to them. Like that's the biggest thing. Don't blow through the checkpoints. And sometimes too, even if you're on a good winning streak, like sometimes when you get winning, sometimes when you get really good with the deck or you feel like you're getting really good with the deck, you start to drift away from what made that deck work for you. For example, you might mulligan a certain way based on your experience and whatnot. And then you might start thinking, because you're winning so much, be like, oh, you know what? I could just do this, or I could just hold on this card, or I could maybe do this, and I think I could get there. And then you start making decisions that come from a place of, not arrogance, but like you're starting to feel a little bit more powerful. You have more knowledge, but sometimes you get away from the basics that got you there. So it doesn't hurt to take a break no matter what. But have goals, have break goals, and try to stick to them, because when you blow through them, then that's when you know you're going to start making more mistakes. Another thing is to make sure that your goals are reasonable and obtainable. My current goal for the season is to finish each rank higher, each season with a higher rank than I did a season before. So if I finished 4,000 last month and I finished 3,999 this month, that's a win. I also kind of factored in that there's going to be months where life happens, and I'm not going to hit that goal. So I factored in, okay, there's going to be 2 or 3 times a year where I'm going to actually go backwards for whatever reason, and that's okay. But for the most part, I want to try to be better than I was last thing. And I think that's a fairly obtainable goal. And that's been really kind of what's worked for me right now. And I've really tried to stick with that. And eventually it gets harder and harder, right? Because if I do finish, say, in the top 2000 again, then now it's even harder to finish higher than that. But that's where I want to be. So I think it's a reasonable goal to just be better than you were. But if if your best finish was gold 10, legend probably isn't the goal for you yet. I mean, it could be the long-term goal, but why not make diamond 10 your next goal or diamond 5, and if you can hit those incremental goals, doesn't mean you can't hit that goal and then try to make your next goal. Like, oh, I hit diamond 10. It's 15 days left of the month. Let's try for diamond 5 or whatever it might be. Don't be afraid to adjust your goals, but set achievable goals based on what you know you can do, what you have time to do. And I like to think of it, especially as if you're not a highly engaged or very competitive player, just make from every if you think of each floor, like, so you got like bronze 10 to bronze 5 to silver 10 to silver 5 to gold 10 to gold 5. Get to the place where you run out of stars. So you've exhausted your star bonus. And then for that month, push up to the next rank. Your star bonus should go up. So then if you made uh gold 10, now your next goal could be gold 5. And if you just do it incrementally like that, you'll see progress and you won't be setting this impossible goal that you're never going to reach. And then you're going to quit because you're frustrated. And that's the other thing too, is it's okay to want to be better at a game. I think it's healthy. I think it's fine, but you have to remember it's a game. It's supposed to be fun. And if it's not, I mean, yeah, sometimes it's easy to get frustrated with the game, but you should be having fun playing with the game way more than you're not. And if you're always kind of grumpy about playing the game, then it's probably time to step away from the game for a little bit, or maybe not play the game at all. So if you get there and you sit down, and it may be time to take a break. Like, let's say you are not happy with certain play patterns in the meta. Every time I log in, I face warrior, druid. I see 3 Ankyliaxes in both decks, and I just can't do what I want to do, so I get frustrated and I don't want to play. Don't play. I take it as a different thing, and sometimes I try to figure out how I beat that deck, and that's kind of a satisfaction that I get out of that. Is like, okay, well, I'm tired of seeing this deck. How do I beat it? I'm thinking about doing that with the Sonya Rogue right now, but I'm not seeing it as much as it's not driving me to that yet. But if I see a lot more of it, I might. But recognize that I'm not having fun, and you can have it, but you can have anxiety about climbing the ladder, yet still have fun if you understand what you're feeling. And my feeling is I feel uncomfortable with where I am. What's my goal? My goal is to feel more comfortable with where I am and improve. You can still have fun. Then those victories feel better, but you also have to turn those losses into just learning moments and understandable that, like, hey, I'm new here. I'm going to lose. That's part of this. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter where you are. Like, great Hearthstone players lose a lot. They win more than they lose mostly, but they still lose a lot. And what do they say? So a good analogy too is baseball. If you hit the baseball 2 out of 10 times, you're horrible, or you're barely a major leaguer. If you hit it 3 times out of 10 times, you're an all-star. And if you hit it 4 times out of 10 times, you are one of the best players of all time. So just small increments make a huge difference. So really just take your time, think about it, have easy goals, have breakpoints, and understand what you're trying to do, and understand that you need to perform at the level you're at in order to be ready to be where you're at. So I like to think of it as like right now, I like to think I'm punching above my weight with the people I'm playing, but I haven't been knocked out. So maybe I do belong there. And you start to build up that confidence is okay, I've played X number of games here. I can do this. And then it's just a thing. And anxiety goes away. I'm going to continue to get anxiety myself, I'm sure, as I improve my rank and as I try to push for finishes and I start to see people that I know. Um, I've yet to beat No Hands Gamer. I've only beat Pizza, I think, twice. People that I'm seeing all the time now, like I see them, and my anxiety is facing them but that's exactly what I've been working for. So the only way I'm going to beat them is play them and understand how to get better. So if it sounds insane, it's not. But if it does sound insane, we're talking about Insanity Warlock today. So we this that's I played a game. I played a few games of Insanity Warlock the last couple days. Of course, yesterday I spent the beginning half of my stream practicing Insanity Warlock, only for it to get banned. Of course, but we played a little bit more today. We've been having some success. So I thought it was probably a good deck to talk about because even though there's not a ton of new cards, it's pretty available in the meta right now. So let's go ahead and take a look. Um, so Insanity Warlock is basically what it was before. Your goal is to kill your opponent, obviously. You do that with a combination of chip damage and also some fatigue damage that you hit him on the back end with. It's got powerful clears. It's got a lot of powerful turns, but it's also dangerous in that you can really kind of tick your health down, and you have to do math. If you are not good at counting or at least estimating where you need to be, this can be a little bit of a difficult deck to play. I don't think it's a very complicated deck, but you have to think. Key cards, you have Crescendo, which Crescendo and Encroaching Insanity, what the deck's named after, I think are two very key cards of the deck. Encroaching Insanity is 3 mana. Both players take fatigue damage twice. So that builds up the amount of damage that you take as well as they take from these from the fatigue ticks. And Crescendo is take fatigue damage, deal that much damage to all enemies. So if you've taken 2 hits of Encroaching Insanity, you've taken 3 damage, and then when you play Crescendo, you will now take 3 more damage because your fatigue counter is at 3. Now, what's made this deck kind of stick around more and more powerful now is the Tidepool Pupil, which is a 1 mana 2/1 battle cry. If you've cast 3 spells while holding this, discover one of them. So you often are trying to get not necessarily Encroaching Insanity because that's a dangerous card. You don't want to be casting 17 of them, but Crescendo is a card you're going to want to play over and over again, especially later on in the game. So being able to generate more of them with Tidepool Pupils is a big deal, and you definitely want to do that. You also have the concept of chip damage in this deck. You want to pressure by putting cards on the board. One of the new cards is Party Fiend, which is a nice 1 mana 1/1 battle cry summon 2 1/1 fell beast, deal 3 damage to your hero. This card is insane. It's better than even the Fell Imp, because that's a 3/2, deals damage to you, but that's 1 minion that can be cleared. This is 3 minions. It's hard to clear 3 minions on turn 1. No one's running things that does it. So you're going to have things that you can be able to use to clear or to push damage. Eat the Imp is another new card. I believe this is definitely one of the ones that Blister Guy revealed. And this is a 2 mana spell. Destroy a friendly minion to draw 3 cards. Goes really well on turn 2 after you played Party Fiend. Just don't forget to attack with that one imp, with that one fell beast before you sacrifice it. And then you have Baritone Imp and Crazed Conductor, which are both improved based on fatigue damage. Baritone Imp is a 2 mana 2/2 that you take fatigue damage and it gains health and attack based on that. So if you've taken 2 damage and then you play Baritone Imp, This is now a 2-mana 5/5, and it increases your ticks of your fatigue damage for things like the Crescendo and the Encroaching Insanity. You also have Crazy Conductor, which will fill your board with 3/4 imps. Excuse me, 3/3 imps. That's a 3/4 himself. And then you have Popgar. Popgar is big in this deck. It's not a sludge deck, but what it does is it makes your crescendos not only 0, but they're fell spells. So what your fell spells with Popgar have lifesteal with them. So that can be a real big turn where instead of taking damage, you are healing damage. You also have cards like the harp and the 1-mana 1/3 that makes it so you don't take damage on your turn. You also are running Symphony of Sins. But for the most part, you want to pressure the board early. You want to get chip damage in, and then you want to pretty much go over the top with your fatigue damage. All in all, not getting yourself to a point where they can just run a Leroy into you and kill you. So there's a delicate balance there. But enough talking about the deck. Let's go ahead and play with the deck. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at this game, see how we did. This was from my stream last night. I know we won a few games with this deck, so I'm thinking this is a victory, but I don't quite remember. I hit 4,000 wins with Paladin, and then we said, you know what, let's go ahead and play something else. Seemed like a good idea. All right, so we are facing off against a Druid. We have a Baritone Imp, a Virtuoso, and an Encroaching Insanity. I debated keeping the Insanity, but I'm pretty sure I just kept Baritone here. It's too early for Virtuoso. Maybe I could tempo it out, but I don't really feel like I'm gaining anything here. We'd rather have that later. You'd rather have maybe like Miracle Salesman and whatnot to play off the bat. I'm really apparently thinking about this play here. I'm talking. Yep, we just keep the Baritone Imp. Still talking about it. We're still... That Encroaching Insanity looks really good, maybe against Druid. It's probably safe to keep against Druid, to be honest. We want to ramp up quick, so maybe that's fine. But we tossed it. We picked up a Crescendo and a Fell String Harp. All right, we draw an Eat the Imp, which is exactly what we're looking for. Now, we have 1 mana, but we don't play Fell String Harp. We want to actually take damage and then use that to gain health back later, not just to play it. So they play Gift Wrap Whelp, and we draw Tide Pool. Our play here is Baritone Imp, which is the first tick of fatigue. So they coin out a New Heights, and they trade. I kind of expected. So it's turn 3. We just drew a domino effect. We're going to tap because we don't have anything we want to do. I now pull a second harp. I'm debating on whether or not I should play the harp. I just play the harp because I have 2 in hand. It might not have been the play, but it seemed okay enough, especially since I had the second one. All right, here's the Desert Nest Matron, and we draw Avoid Virtuoso. So they played the Matron for the 4/5 Matron without dragons in hand. That's kind of important to note. I drew another Virtuoso. So we tapped. We drew a Salesman. We play out the Salesman. So they're at 30 health with a 4/5 taunt. I am at 29 health with a 2/2 Salesman and 2 more charges on my harp. They hero power and they just ship damage face. And that's all they do. So they float 3 mana, so they don't really have a whole lot going on. We just drew a Baritone Imp, which we're going to play the Baritone Imp. I think I did that in the wrong order, maybe. But we're going to eat the Imp on the... we eat the Imp on the Salesman. And so we have Reverberations, the 2/1 that draws a card, and a Fracking. Elemental Geode is the card name I'm looking for. So we play the Fracking. So here we have choices of... back it up just a second. We have choices of Trog, Gem Tosser, Thornveil Tentacle, and Salesman. I want to push damage. I don't feel threatened, so I think I take the Gem Tosser here. Which I do. And we pass the turn. They're now on 6 mana. They innervate out Sleep Under the Stars, which is, I think probably one of the better cards in their deck. I think it could probably cost 8 or 9 and still be fine. So they draw a bunch of cards. They refresh 3 mana crystals. They swipe my imp off the board, swing. So now I'm at 21 health. They're at 31. We just drew a Tide Pool Pupil. So let's take a look at our hand here. We have a Crescendo, a Harp, a Pupil, a Domino Effect, a Virtuoso, a Snake Oil, Reverberations, a Elemental Geode, a Trog Gem Tosser, and a additional Tide Pupil. Not a whole lot I want to be doing here, so I think the first thing I should be doing is trading right off the bat and seeing what else we might draw. So that's exactly what we do is we trade. We got a Thornvein Tentacle. So I play out the Geode now. We draw our other Virtuoso, which is fine, but we don't need it now. Our weapon is now kaput. Play the other weapon since I have both. I'm thinking about playing the other weapon. Oh no, what are we thinking about here? I thought we'd play the weapon. We probably want to maybe Crescendo since we have both Tide Pool Pupils in hand. But no, we opt for Gem Tosser. And we ship damage face and to the minion. The minion's still alive. It's a 4/2. They're at 28 health. They play Take to the Skies, as one does. Probably drew him a Fi. They play out a Splish Splash Whelp. They clear my Gem Tosser with their Desertness Matron. So it's now my turn. They're 28 health. I'm at 23 health. I just drew a Symphony, Crazed Conductor, excuse me. So, I mean, that seems like a solid play on this turn. So we play out the Harp. And I believe we play out the Conductor. Maybe we tap first. No, we Crescendo. Are we going to Crescendo? No, we should have done this in the reverse order if we do this. We Conductored. We Swang Face. We have 2. And then we Crescendoed. The Crescendo clears. Additionally, we should have done that in the reverse order. We would have had 1 additional imp. So they play out another Death Matron. They play out a Chia Drake, which is a 4 mana 2/4. Looks like they get spell power. They play out the miniature. They also get spell power off that. They swipe at the Conductor, clearing my board, putting me at 24 health, 22 health. So we just drew a Gem Tosser and a off that the Geode we drew a Encroaching Insanity. Excuse me with the sneeze there. So we have 1 tick of the weapon left. We're thinking about Encroaching Insanity here, but we have 2 Virtuosos. So we play the Virtuoso. We play Encroaching Insanity to ramp up our fatigue here. Our fatigue is now, we just hit 6. We play out the Tide Pool Pupil. We grab a Crescendo. We play the Crescendo to clear their board, which feels good with the spell power that they had there. We play the other Tide Pool Pupil, and we grab another Crescendo. And we pass the turn. So they're at 12 health. We're at 22 health. They play A&R because they are on 10 mana. They refresh their mana crystals, giving them a 5/5 taunt. And then they play Fi the Setting Sun. And then they play Sleep on the Stars. They refresh 3 mana crystals, refresh 3 mana crystals, and refresh 3 mana crystals. They kill my Virtuoso with the Fi, and they play Ziliax, which is the duplicate one. It has the Rush, Lifesteal, and Divine Shield. So they're at back to 28 health. We are at 22 health. They have 2 6/5s with Lifesteal. They have a 4/11 with Lifesteal. They have A&R, and they have a 5/5 with Taunt. We just drew a Fracking. So I believe we start off with the Fracking here. It's not looking great for us at this point. But we reverbed the Fi, which maybe it was okay. because I'm thinking maybe we're gonna clear it with the gem tosser or something like that. But we fracking. We have our choices are Crazy Conductor, Crescendo, and Geode. I think there's no doubt we're taking the Crescendo here. So yes, we take the Crescendo. We Crescendo, and then we Gem Tosser, and that does a bunch of damage. They're at 11 health with no more board. We still have Fi on board. We still have the Gem Tosser, and we're at 24 health. They play Yogg Saron, and they take control of my Fi, which, you know, is reverbed, but they take control of it. Their Yogg plays Fracking, which burns Puppet Master, and Marlin, which is, you know, good for us long term. They clear my minion with theirs. They swing, so they have a Yogg on board. They're at 16 health. We are at 23 health. We got a Snake Oil. We trade it. We pull up Popgar, and we're just doing the math right now, and I'm pretty sure we won off of this play. We Popgar because we want those slimes and, you know, the healing. But then we play out the Virtuoso. We Crescendo for 9 damage. We double Sludge, and that puts them at -1, giving us the victory. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. You can follow me on Twitch and Twitter, TikTok, and YouTube at TitoSantanaHS. In fact, not only can you, I highly encourage you to do so. This week on Bread and Butter, we had Snap streamer Eggs, who's also a Hearthstone streamer, that we talked about the state of women in gaming. Not only was she an absolute joy to talk to, but the main topic of the show was quite important, still relevant. We talked about women in gaming, and it's one that I think is very important, especially with how things come up now and then. But women have to deal with this all the time. We're in a male-dominated industry, and it ain't right. So I encourage everybody to give that one a listen, and also hopefully maybe learn something. If you do want to talk about it, you can reach out to us. You can reach out to Eggs. You can reach out to just about anybody. If you have questions or thoughts, I think we'd love to address it. But at least for now, I'm done talking. Have a great day, everybody.